On April 9th, 2017, the game he broke the record for triple-doubles in a single season. A young Nikola Jokic-led Nuggets team was on the brink of ruining Russell Westbrook's night when...
Thunder is out of timeouts. Adams gives it back to Russ. Deep shot! Get it! What a perfect ending to a historic day! Westbrook gives the Thunder the victory at the buzzer!
This loss would cost the Denver Nuggets a playoff spot, and this shot was a final exclamation point on Russell Westbrook's 2017 MVP season. As this was the year Russ was out for revenge, this was the year after Kevin Durant had left him to play for the Golden State Warriors. And in this season, Russ was at his apex prime, averaging 31.6 points, 10.4 assists, and 10.7 rebounds per game, giving him the first triple-double for a single season since Oscar Robertson. But even more than that, throughout NBA history, only 13 players have averaged at least 30 points and 10 rebounds per game in a single year. Only 4 have averaged 30 points and 10 assists per game in a single season, and only Oscar Robertson and Russell Westbrook have achieved one of basketball's rarest achievements, the 30-point triple-double for an entire season. But yet, Russell Westbrook's legacy is clouded with heavy criticism. With extreme talents and extreme individual success comes extreme scrutiny. As while Russ was the 2017 NBA MVP, after the Thunder lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Rockets, Colin Cowherd would rip him.
As Russell Westbrook implodes in the fourth quarter, this is always the excuse. Poor Russell Westbrook, he needs a nap. He is tired. Excuses, excuses, excuses.
So what's up, Mike here, and this could be a controversial video. Russell Westbrook is a name that invokes high emotion one way or the other. His fans love him and will defend him to the death. His critics will bury him with memes and at times just pure hate. So how can we remain objective? Well, we're going to break down Russell Westbrook's career from a statistical standpoint. As we know, many things in life at this point in time are lies, but stats do not lie. And Russ's stats are the main argument for his greatness, that on the stat sheet, he's the best point guard to ever live. We know he never won a title in his prime. Some blame that on Kevin Durant leaving, some blame that on Russ. We also know, though, that almost no top point guard ever, including John Stockton, Steve Nash, and Chris Paul, among most of the top 10 point guards, won a championship in their prime. Even Jason Kidd and Gary Payton, who won titles, won championships after their prime was over. But if you guys do want a full deep dive into who is truly the best point guard of all time, not just stats wise, but also playoff success wise, please comment that down below and subscribe, because I will take all of this research that you're about to see and add in playoff stats and top playoff runs. But as for today, we are focusing on not only just base stats in the regular season, but also advanced stats in the regular season. We are looking, is Russ the greatest statistical point guard ever, or is that just not true at all? So if you weren't watching the NBA in 2017, or if you just don't remember, during Russ's MVP triple-double year, the first triple-double by a player since Oscar Robertson in 1962, Russ's triple-double stats were actually called into extreme question, as there were videos where it appeared Steven Adams was just letting Russ grab rebounds.
Russell Westbrook is padding his rebound stats.
There was also a video of Russ appearing to block his own teammate.
Look at, watch this, Skip. He blocked the man's shot.
But to be fair, your point guard grabbing a rebound and running a fast break is actually ideal, as your center doesn't have to make that extra pass to the point guard to get things started. Again, Russell Westbrook is just a lightning rod for criticism. So in order to answer this question fairly, I created a list of the top 10 point guards of all time post-merger, and we have 6 separate charts to look at. Each of these players' top 10-year window, 5-year window, and apex prime season. And for each of those 3 categories, we have the base stats and we have the advanced stats. We are going with this post-merger list of Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, Isaiah Thomas, John Stockton, Chris Paul, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, Gary Payton, Damian Lillard, and Russell Westbrook for a very good reason. Although if you are someone who is a pre-merger guy, then yes, Bill Russell is the most dominant player to ever live with 11 titles. Wilt is the best statistical player to ever live with a season with over 50 points per game, and Oscar Robertson does clear Russell Westbrook if we're going pre-merger. I will show you just how dominant Oscar Robertson was later in this video. For now, let's focus on these 10 pre-merger guys. Here are the 10-year prime windows for each of these players in terms of just base stats. And I would say Russell Westbrook takes this. Magic Johnson is close with less scoring but 11.8 assists per game. Steph has more scoring but less overall numbers in terms of assists and rebounds. And then after Magic and Steph, really the base stats list just drops off. But before we continue, guys, I am very excited to thank DraftKings for sponsoring today's video, because if you did not know, Christmas is right around the corner and I have teamed up with DraftKings to bring a gift to new customers that is going to put you in the holiday spirit. Right now, new customers who download DraftKings and use promo code Korzemba get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins after betting just $5. That is if you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use my promo code Korzemba. Don't forget to stay in on the action and use $150 in bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays. Combine multiple bets together from the same game for a shot at an even bigger payout. And if sports betting is not available in your state yet, do not worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports. So again, guys, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code Korzemba and get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins after betting just $5. That's promo code Korzemba only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video. And now let's get back into the video. Russ, Magic, and Steph are in tier 1. The other 7 guys all stand out in their own ways. I wouldn't even make a tier 2 or a tier 3. I would just say they're all tier 2. I would also say, though, that in terms of individual stats, Isaiah Thomas, who many say is the 3rd best point guard of all time, is the most disappointing. Don't come at me, Pistons fans. There's a reason why it would be great to factor in playoff success and championships into a player's legacy in a separate video. And looking more into this, John Stockton with 12.8 assists per game over a 10-year span is eye-popping. And to be honest, I personally did not give Gary Payton enough credit headed into this video. The 96 Sonics did take the Bulls to 6 games in the NBA Finals, and Payton, who was nicknamed the Glove, was one of the best perimeter defenders the league has ever seen. He is a 9-time All-Defensive Team selection, along with a Defensive Player of the Year award winner. So I am sorry, Gary. I will give you much more respect going forward. Your numbers are awesome. Payton also has great advanced numbers, and it's here where things get way more interesting, because in terms of advanced numbers, it's here where Russ does take a fall, as when we account for PER, true shooting percentage, win shares per 48 minutes, box score plus minus, and VORP, now we have 4 standouts and none of them are Russ. Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, and John Stockton all have better advanced numbers when we look just beyond PER. This is where Russ's shooting inefficiencies hurt him, and some could say that this would point to the argument that he wasn't much of a winning player when we compare him to the best of the best. However, if we look at Isaiah Thomas's advanced numbers, a man who won 2 championships, we see that Russ outdoes him in every category. These are the absolute best point guards of all time. So my verdict here is, in the regular season at least, you can't win with Russell Westbrook as your best player. He shoots too much. His play style is not conducive to winning. That narrative is overblown. The same goes for each player's 5-year window, and it's here where Russ actually steps up his game. I honestly thought there would be way much more of a difference here, but really there's only one player who stands out with a huge rise on this list, and that is Russell Westbrook. Russ took a noticeable leap across the board between the ages of 26 to 30, where he averaged a near triple-double with 26.3 points, 10.1 assists, and 9.4 rebounds per game. This makes sense because we know that he played 3 of those seasons after Kevin Durant left, and one of those seasons, the 2017 year, was his MVP Apex Prime season. Also, I want to give a huge shout out to Damian Lillard. In terms of statistical production, yes, he never won a championship, but the man more than deserves to be on this list. What's very interesting, though, when looking at this 5-year list, is that a few of these point guards actually had their best seasons very early in their careers. Isaiah Thomas won 2 titles after his best statistical period, but looking at his numbers from the ages of 21 to 25, Isaiah put up his best stats early, while most point guards on this list found their 5-year primes later on in their careers, starting at the age of 25 or after that. Steve Nash is notable for having his 5-year prime very late. That came between the ages of 29 and 33. And no surprise, during that time is when he not only won back-to-back MVPs, but also finished second in the MVP voting in 2007. On the opposite end of the spectrum again though, Chris Paul is another example of a young player starring early, as his 5-year prime came between the ages of 22 and 26. Unfortunately for Chris Paul, he tore up his knee during the 2010 season, and while he remains one of the best point guards of all time, CP3 was on track to potentially rival Magic and Steph Curry, and that is no exaggeration. That is what everyone was saying when Chris Paul joined the league, that he might become the best point guard ever, as in 2008, at just the age of 22, Chris Paul finished second in the MVP voting. He would then finish fifth in the MVP voting the following season at 23. It seemed like he was destined for at least one MVP in his career, as well as multiple championships, but his original knee injury in 2010 would zap the incredible speed he had at the time, making him, in my opinion, one of the most underrated what-if injury stories in NBA history, as due to his extreme long-term success, we often forget that injuries did cost Chris Paul a lot. It is here where, before we get into the Apex Prime seasons, I want to switch things up for a second and talk about Oscar Robertson versus Russ, because statistically, Russell Westbrook actually cannot be the best point guard of all time if we include Oscar Robertson specifically. In his 10-year window, Oscar averaged 29.3 points, 10.3 assists, and 8.5 rebounds per game. Looking at advanced numbers, Oscar had a combined 25 PER, 57.2% true shooting percentage, and 0.224 win shares per 48 minutes. Going further, while Russ's bonus season was a triple-double with the Wizards at 32 years old, Oscar won a championship with the Bucks at 32 years old and finished fifth in the MVP voting. He was also a one-time MVP, same as Russ, but Oscar had 9 first-team All-NBA selections to Russ's 2, and was a 12-time All-Star to Russ's 9. So huge shout out to the Big O. Let's give respect where respect is due, but let's also be realistic here. We need to look at post-merger players, because when Oscar joined the NBA in 1961, the league had just 8 teams with no free agency, amongst several other factors, such as racism keeping some rosters mostly white, and no European talent at all. This was very obviously a different NBA world, so we love Oscar. We also love Jerry West, who put up tremendous stats himself and is mostly listed as a point guard throughout his own career. But when we talk about the different eras of basketball, the pre-merger era was essentially a different league. But of course, to finish this off, we need to look at those Apex Prime seasons to see the absolute best season of every player's career. And Chris Paul's 1-year prime came at the age of 23. Again, much younger than almost every player on this list other than Isaiah Thomas. Russ's 1-year prime came at the age of 28, his 2017 MVP season, where he averaged 31.6 points, 10.4 assists, 10.7 rebounds, and 1.6 steals a game, becoming the first player since Oscar Robertson to average a triple-double since 1962. That should not go underrated. There was a 55-year difference there, and in this season, despite the criticism that he faced, Russ was just truly awesome everywhere. This was the year after Kevin Durant left and before Paul George joined, meaning Russ had never been counted on more individually as a star, and while the Thunder did lose to the Rockets in the first round of the playoffs, their starters that year were a pre-All-Star Victor Oladipo, a 23-year-old Steven Adams, Andre Robertson, and Taj Gibson. If you took Russ off the 2017 Thunder, these would be 20-win teams. Despite this, Russ got a lot of flack this season for leading the NBA in usage rate. However, he also led the entire NBA in PER, assist percentage, box score plus minus, and VORP. It wasn't just that he averaged a triple-double, his advanced numbers back up his extreme dominance. And looking at the prime seasons of every top 10 point guard post-merger, base stats-wise, there is a reason why we have to compare Russ to a pre-merger Oscar Robertson. It is Russell Westbrook who clearly has the best base numbers here. Steph, Magic, and Chris Paul certainly have incredible 1-year primes as well, but Russ just clears everyone. In terms of advanced numbers, I would actually keep that exact same group as the core 4, Russ, Steph, Magic, and CP3, as they are the standouts on this list. However, I will say in terms of advanced numbers, it is clear Steph Curry has the best advanced numbers in one season. And really, there we have it. Russ's base stats are undeniable, and his advanced stats give us a story of a winning basketball player. An extreme net positive for his team, not a ball hog who costs his team wins. In terms of regular season production, the numbers do not lie. I will say, Russell Westbrook is the greatest statistical point guard ever post-merger from a base stats standpoint. Steph Curry may have the best advanced numbers ever. That, though, could be an argument for an entire different video. So if you want to see that video again, make sure to comment down below and subscribe. That way you never miss another video in general. Thank you for watching. You are awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day and peace.